Hello, good evening everyone. How are you all doing today? I am back, and today we are going to be reviewing a couple of things. First of all, we've got this Pastel Premier. This is a very high quality drawing surface. These ones in particular are matte boards, similar to what you might have with treated masonite, but it also comes on sheets of paper. It's mostly used for soft pastels rather than, oil pastels, but it still works just as well. The texture is probably, I'd say, close to 1,000 grit sandpaper. A little bumpy. You might actually find a similar texture on your countertop, actually. Just a little bit more. It grips onto the pastels beautifully. It holds onto them for dear life. And then, of course, the second thing we've got here are these Special-est. These are you might be able to call them the professional or semi-professional grade of the Craypaw line. The student grade, of course, being the Expressionist, which are really good. I quite like them. They're really good for a hard pastel, very pigmented. These ones are just a little bit better, a little bit softer, a little bit more pigment, and they're square. Who doesn't like a square stick, right? There's a lot of things you can do with a square stick, not even counting the opportunity to poke things and leave a nice little mark with them. You can get a lot of fine detail if you take care of your corners and you keep them nice and sharp, nice and tight. You can get some very fine lines out of these. And with the introductions out of the way, let's start talking about my favorite subject, which is, of course, me. So where have I been? What have I been doing? Why haven't I been posting? All that sort of stuff. We'll talk about that. Quite honestly, the truth of it is that I was in a bit of a rut. It happens. Sometimes, especially, this is such a small channel right now. It kind of got lost to the wayside as other things piled up. I had a wedding. I got married, by the way. I am an honest woman now. So that is a thing that happened. I lost a couple pounds. I don't know if I'm going to be revealing that anytime soon on camera. Probably. I'll probably stop being shy in a little bit and show my face, and you'll be all like, oh geez, put it back on. Whatever. It'll be good. We'll have a nice laugh. Let's see, I lost access to the mic that I was using before. The mic that I was using was, I believe it was an H5 or something like that. It's a little handy cam mic thing. Something that you'd use on interviews. I basically just plug it in my computer and it would just take the sound for me. I have since downgraded slightly. I mean, it's a cute little microphone. It's a Yeti Snowball, It doesn't have to be an amazing gyroscopic whatever, but it seems to be doing all right. I'm looking at the sound, I'm hearing it I'm using Audacity to record it, and it seems okay. I'm not hearing any weird hissing or anything. At least nothing that couldn't be explained by my computer being a noise in the background or anything like that. And of course, I am going to clear that up afterwards, so you probably aren't going to hear it anyway. So this is fine for now. Maybe once I start getting a little bit of traction, I'll start looking at upgrading my stuff. It'll be great. We'll see. Still got the same camera. It's a GH4, just a couple years old, but it's still good. It just works. It's reliable. It just keeps going. I'm sure I've dropped it more than a few times, and it hasn't shown much abuse for it. It's a good little camera. I would recommend something like that if you're looking to get into doing stuff like this. Obviously, if you want to do it on a shoestring, you can always use your phone. Let's be honest here. If you don't have a phone with a working camera in it at this point, it's 2024, people. If you don't have a working smartphone at this point, you're doing it on purpose. At which point, this doesn't really apply to you because you've got your own thing going on. I don't have much experience with whatever you're doing for you, and I can't give you advice for that. Let's see, what else? I recently got a new cat. We've had him for about a month. His name is Tigger. He's called Tigger because he's got a curly tail, like a little piggy tail. Very cute, very, very talkative little buddy. He likes to grumble. He's an old man cat, and he likes to grumble, and he likes to cuddle. He drools a little bit when he cuddles. It's a little gross, but I love him anyway. Right now, he was actually captured out of a colony of strays and feral cats that unfortunately a few of the members that were caught did test positive for feline leukemia. So right now he is isolated from Rosie until we can be sure. The for sure mark is about 3 months, but once her inoculations for feline leukemia kick in, probably safe to introduce them. There's very little chance of that. We've actually got, I think next week or the week after that, we've got an appointment with the vet talking about that and some other issues that he's got right now. He's 10 years old. He's an old buddy. Like he's a guy. He's an old guy. And very interesting story behind him. Regardless, we're going to talk to the vet about introducing them. Right now, we literally built the door out of, I think it was plastic and like 2x4s to keep him locked up in the front room. And he gets a lot of cuddles. Who doesn't like kitty cuddles, right? With Rosie, the cuddles are on her terms, but Tigger is always down for a cuddle. He'll make muffins until the cows come home. He's great. I love him. And you gotta like a pet with lore behind him, right? Like this cat has some lore. It is some very interesting stuff. So he's actually not a stray. He's actually my wife's grandmother's cat. Did I mention I got married, by the way? I got married. No big deal. But here's the thing about my wife's grandmother is she actually died, I think, back in like 2017. So first he went to go live with a relative, an uncle of hers, took him in, and then he died, and then this cat dropped off the face of the earth. Like, this cat is nowhere to be seen for, I think, like 5 years. Somehow ended up crossing a 3-hour drive between the two towns where he was lost and where we found him. I have no idea how this happened. He shows up, he gets caught in one of the I don't know who it was, SPCA, SCAR, something like that. Shows up in one of their traps. Right away they go in and he starts purring and rubbing, and it's like, this cat isn't a stray. So they check him. He's got an ear tattoo. He's registered to my wife's grandmother. We get a message about it on Facebook being like, hey, who's Edna? And Katie's like, I know Edna. Edna's my grandma. And so we drive an hour out to Vegreville, grab this cat, come back. He's all sorts of messed up. He's not doing well. He's got an infected broken tooth, so we pay to get that extracted. $2,000 later, he's happy, he's healthy. So far, he doesn't have any sign of feline leukemia. The vet says that usually when you see that, because it's kind of like a systemic thing, the cats kind of get they call it a case of the NDRs, the not doing rights. They're just kind of off. Their reflexes are a little slow. They're a little listless. They're a little ragged. Their fur's a little patchy. They're sick. They've got some sort of unidentified disease, which makes sense because feline leukemia attacks the immune system, right? So anything that they do have, it's going to be not necessarily from the leukemia, it's going to be from anything that they pick up in the environment. So, any sort of cold, flu, seasonal allergy, they could drop dead from a breeze, basically. It's terrible. It is a terrible thing. You really don't want that spreading. If you have a cat who's at risk of that, first of all, bring your cats inside. Like if you've got a cat that you like to let outside, let them outside supervised. Ain't nothing cuter than a little kitty on a leash. Like, it's a win-win situation. You get to walk around the little kitty, and the kitty gets some outside fresh air time. Sorry, it's just a little pet peeve of mine. Okay, a little behind the scenes here. It is actually the next day. I broke up this recording into 2 recording sections. Yep, so let's see. I've spent the last 10 minutes talking about what I've been doing, and I haven't even mentioned what's going on in the video at all. So let's talk a little bit about the products that I'm using. Of course, the pastels are Special-est. These are the semi-professional brand, as I said before. They're a little bit more transparent than I like. Even like the blues and the whites, they've still got a little bit of transparency. It could be good for, if you're layering and stuff, you're certainly going to have a lot of mixing of the colors, unless you really, eat it in there. But you're really going to be able to mix your colors and get new combinations. So this 48 set, really, the sky's the limit with with what you can actually do with this set. It's also quite a varied set. It's got a lot of blues, it's got a lot of purples, a little lacking on the reds, but it kind of makes up for that a little bit with the earth tones, lots of yellows. So the only thing it's really missing is kind of a couple of neutrals, maybe a small range of warm and cool grays. It's got some warm grays. I quite like the set. It's very nice. I'm going to be using it for future uses. The only thing that I would recommend against using it for is for colored paper. You can see this Pastel Premier matte board that I'm using is a gray tone, and it kind of bleeds through a little bit, kind of darkened the whole thing. You can't really tell, kind of brightened up the recording a little bit just to, just give it some spice. Just really, it's been a while since I've recorded. And it's a little blurry, so I'm working my magic. I'm working my mojo behind the scenes to kind of make up for that. I'm sorry, the next video will actually be in focus the whole time. I say that, but yeah, I suppose I can't really promise anything. I kind of get a little bit of tunnel vision and lose track of the actual video until, it's done and I look over the footage and I think, damn. But yeah, it's doing good. Now, a set that I actually don't like is the whole bean student set. Like, the pastels are fine. They're pretty good for just kind of clowning around, getting used to the material. They're pretty typical for what you would find in a student grade pastel, but the colors are so heavily geared towards portraits that if you're trying to do, I don't know, like landscapes or, drawing portraits how I draw portraits, you're gonna have a little bit of trouble getting your full range of colors there. But there's so many different skin tones that if you want to just like draw a normal human with human skin tones, you're in luck with that. It's just not my jam. They're good pastels, it's just not my jam. And we can talk about some things about the channel. So, like I said, I've been gone for a while. It's actually been almost a year. Can you believe it? Like, holy crap, has this year just gone by? I suppose that's what happens when you've got a wedding to plan, and it's been quite a year. And yeah, so we're heading into 2025. We've got some fun products on the horizon. We've got a new brand of Canson, not brand, but a new kind of Canson papers come out, the Canson Mitant. I believe it's velour or velvet or something like that. Basically, it's their answer to what I'm using here, which is the Pastel Matte or the Pastel Premier. Basically like a high grit sandpaper as opposed to the textured Mitant paper that we all know and love so much. So I'm hoping to get my hands on that. It's a little pricey. I think I was seeing 12 sheets for about $50. It's not as bad as it could be. It's not quite as bad as, like actual pastel matte. But it's more than I like for, actual paper. But I'll get my hands on some of that and we'll have a fun time with that. We'll try it with a couple of different pastels. Just goof around, just kind of hang with it. And with that, I think I'm just going to leave you all with my final thoughts with this here. So, with regards to the pastels, they are fantastic. I'm glad I've got these on sale. Had I known the quality of them, I probably wouldn't have waited so long to actually get them. But you know how Amazon works. Like, you're always waiting for everything to drop. And if it drops, well, maybe it's going to drop a little bit more. You don't know. And then it rises again, and the price, it's just capitalism. Am I right? Like, if we could all just go back to trading chickens and goats, I think I'd be much happier. I mean, for one thing, there'd be more chickens and goats in my life. It'd be a little bit harder to order things online. I don't know. Do you have to pay postage for goats? Probably. Other than Amazon, I'm not really sure where you can pick these up nice and easy. They actually seem to be more of a popular product in Japanese markets. So I don't know if anyone is Japan adjacent in my audience, but it's an option. I mean, Sakura, it's a very Japanese company. It kind of makes sense, but not so common. You're much more likely to find the Expressionists. Probably because they're so much cheaper than the Special-est ones. So there's that. And then also the Pastel Matte, Pastel Premier. 1 second, I'm just gonna double check. Yeah, it's Pastel Premier. Have I been calling it Pastel Matte this whole damn time? Oh my god, I do not have the energy to go back and edit everything. So, well, just for the, I'll label it correctly in the title, and hopefully you can excuse my blonde. So I can see why people pay so much for this. Working at an art store does have its privileges. I managed to snag these two. It was a sample pack, and I managed to get them for free. You know, just kind of rating. You know, was it 25, 30 years of history in this art store? They collect a couple of things, and sometimes they're quite glad to let things go to a good home, especially if you're going to give them a review and, you know, maybe link the store. So there's that. So if you are looking for something to kind of just like give your pastels over to the next level, this is definitely an option. Please consider it. Again, the board, the Pastel Premier board, a little bit less common. I usually see the sheets of paper. They are plastic lined. They're kind of held together with the plastic, and then they have the almost millery board, like paste painted on top of the plastic. So if you're a little bit worried about plastic going everywhere, that is a concern. It is what it is, though. You know, we live in a society. Right? But those are my thoughts. Get them both. 10 out of 10. Love them. And I will treat you all to a video, I've been missing it, of Rosie, my original tabby, and the new boy, Tigger. So I hope you all have a lovely evening, morning, day, whatever. You know, I'm not going to judge. And I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.